Hi, David McLeod here, creator of the Daily Affirmation program. Thanks for dropping by. Have you ever heard the phrase, "I'd rather be right than happy"? If you're anything like me, then you may have had someone accuse you of being that way at some point in your life. Frankly, I think this is a pretty common experience. I think that it is the very nature of the ego mind to want or need to be right. As I've said before in these videos, the ego mind really only has one purpose, and that is to keep us safe, sane, and secure as we navigate our way through our physical reality. And we've all had experiences, usually when we were very young, of failing or of being wrong or of simply not doing enough to make mommy or daddy happy. And the consequences of those things were usually accompanied by our own discomfort or pain. And of course, we didn't like that too much, so we looked for ways to avoid creating that pain or discomfort in the first place. Well, our ego minds grew up with us and learned how to anticipate the circumstances that were most likely to end in pain or discomfort. So it developed strategies that were designed to help us avoid things that we perceived as dangerous. And so this eventually led to our need to be right or to be seen as good enough. Now, in the early stages, we probably thought that being right would make us happy. But eventually, we came to the belief that being right was actually more important than being happy because, in some ways, it was going to keep us safe. It's insidious, but this is the sort of thing that happens to all of us. Now, the last thing I want you to do is make yourself wrong about this. Remember, your ego mind is just trying to help you, even if it's doing so in a dysfunctional way. So there's no point in blaming or demonizing the ego mind, as that will only make things worse. One of the limitations of the physical world is that we tend to rely on our 5 physical senses to help us get around. And they are powerful senses too. So powerful, in fact, that many of us believe that if you can't see it, hear it, taste it, smell it, or feel it, well, then it simply doesn't exist. Of course, sometimes we might believe something even if we have never had our own personal experience of it, provided that the people who are telling us are trustworthy and have a reputation for truthfulness. But what happens with all of this is that we also tend to believe that if someone else experiences the same sights, sounds, tastes, smells, or feelings, then they must also have the same overall experience that we had. The other people have the same experience, and therefore they have the same interpretations and they draw the same conclusions. In other words, if it's true for me, then it must be true for you too. Well, unfortunately, this couldn't be further from reality. And that's because people don't interpret their situations or make judgments about people or situations based strictly on what is happening right now. All of our interpretations and judgments are shaped not only by the circumstances and conditions of the present, but also by the filters of all of our past experiences. This is really important for us to recognize and understand, because this knowledge actually frees us from the need to be right. You see, when you recognize that you can't possibly know for certain what might be true for another person, no matter how similar their experience might be to what you went through, then you are immediately relieved of the responsibility for having to know, for having to be right. Isn't that great news? So, here's my invitation for this week. Take some time each day just to remind yourself that your experiences, interpretations, and judgments are 100% your own, and that everyone around you is having their own experience that might be very different from yours. Thanks for listening, and have a very illuminated week.